Alright, we are recording. I'm just putting some stuff away because I had to take care of some stuff. Turns out I had to adjust some thumbnails. And also, I know at the end of the previous part I had mentioned doing video for overall. No, I'm not doing that. I forgot. I'll do that for the entire book. The whole book, not each individual story, but I do have a place to put in notes on that because when I do the overall, that'll help. Okay, so coming to chapter 24, which is the final chapter of Phantom Menace. Yeah, I do still have some things to complain about, to criticize. One is it describing it as battle for Naboo's sovereignty, which, much a change in the lives of those who had fought in the struggle for Naboo sovereignty. It's like, on the one hand, yes, I do get that is not an incorrect use of the word sovereignty, but on the other hand, that feels way higher than, like, that seems too strong a word here. Because their sovereignty was challenged, but they were still, like, in the state of war. So, they were invaded, they tried to regain their freedom and kick out the invaders. That's not exactly a battle for sovereignty. I mean, it's... Especially because they'd never given in to the Trade Federation. Yeah, I'm going to bend that down a little bit. They never really given in to the Trade Federation. I mean, it's... When we get to the separatist stuff, that's a battle for sovereignty. The American Revolution was a battle for sovereignty because we wanted to be sovereign and separate, so we controlled ourselves. That's what the whole idea for sovereignty to me is. That it's not just, oh, somebody took us over, we're going to kick them out within a week. That's not a battle for sovereignty. That's a, no, we're in war, we're trying to win it. That's what that is. We're trying to defeat the invasion. That's what that is. It's not a battle for sovereignty. So I just... It's the wrong word in my opinion. So, I find it odd how it describes that Anakin relays the account of what happened when he was in the starfighter and got into the battleship and all that. And his feeling that I should not just not be firing the lasers, but should actually hit the torpedo launcher, which technically he didn't know which one it was. But the sense for him to do that, and it's at just the right time, so it would go down and hit the reactor, like we see in the movie. He doesn't witness it, he didn't know what he'd done, but like the fact that he had that feeling that, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do, this is what I must do. That's enough for Obi-Wan to be like, oh, he must be the chosen one. I'm just thinking, what? You really think it's that impressive? That's what the Force lets you do? That makes him the chosen one and truly above the Jedi Masters? I mean, sure, I've not blown up any battleships, but I've had feelings like that plenty of times. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to do it. It's like, just a thought enters my mind of something I should do. It'd be a good thing to do. I do it. And it turns out to be a good thing. Apparently, I'm a Force user. Who knew? And not only that, a chosen one of prophecy. And I don't think that my experience is that uncommon. I think plenty of people they have a feeling, and it's like, I'm going to go with that, and it turns out to be good. Nope, this makes you the chosen one. Wait, I missed a note. Hang on. Okay. Yeah, I missed a couple, actually. Down here. I'll write them in. The council... So, okay. That convinces Obi-Wan, yes, Anakin is the chosen one. It's silly, but it's what they do. The council approves Anakin's training now, which isn't too surprising. But interestingly, and I don't recall this being in the movie, Yoda does not. So the council actually goes against Yoda. Which is significant. Even Obi-Wan's like, whoa, because it's Yoda. He's old, and he's smart, and he's very powerful. They went against him. Which, in a way, if we go back to the whole point I was making before with the council, potentially a reason why they wouldn't want to acknowledge Anakin as the Chosen One is just the Chosen One prophecy being true, being fulfilled, means they're not doing their job. But now it's like, oh crap, there are Sith here. So, you know what? Let's train him up so that he will defeat them and bring balance to the Force, because they're assuming balance means we will remain, the Sith will be destroyed. It's like, I don't think that that's completely accurate, but I have a feeling that that might be a little bit of an explanation here that's not given. I mean, to be fair, you don't want to give it away too strongly. It's possible it could be talked about in a later book, although I'm actually not going to trust that, because there are 3 different authors between the 3 books. That's that kind of detail that changing authors might not carry over. But I still could see it being that way, and Yoda might be more of a, no, this is still a bad idea, but we need the prophecy to be fulfilled now, because we know that the Sith are out there. It's like, but he's still not ready. I also think it's foolish that Yoda's stance on it is foolish, especially with the whole, I'll let Obi-Wan train him. It should be, I don't like this, I'm also going to be involved. That would make way more sense, because you can't let Anakin go. He's too powerful with the Force just based on the midichlorian count. So you can't just let him be out there. You have to train him. So, I mean, it's like Yoda's view that, no, we shouldn't. It is foolish to me, because it should be we will train him. They want to train him because he's chosen one. I want to train him because he could be a danger. And we need to make sure that danger is controlled. It would make perfect sense. He would be able to have that conversation with Obi-Wan. So, it's just... Alright. So, a point that I definitely pushed on heavily in the previous video was that Qui-Gon should have killed Maul, just grabbed the lightsaber so Maul couldn't escape and cut him in half, instead of Obi-Wan killing him. It actually kind of defends that Obi-Wan kills Maul in this chapter. I don't think it's necessary. I still don't think it's necessary. By basically the Council deciding, yes, you are a knight because, man, you killed a Sith. You must be a knight. It's like, I still don't think that that's necessary. It's like, it could have been decided, yes, we're still going to put you through the trials. We might skip some because you did just fight, even if you don't kill. You still fought him. You still, competed with this Sith who managed to kill a master. That's, we need to, I mean, it's also, we need more warriors. Who's going to replace your master? We got to make you a knight. It's like, there's other reasons to do that, and it still could just be we're going to give you the trials, but don't worry. Basically, we want you to be a knight. You're going to pass. Still do what you can, but that would make so much more sense. Well, at least that would be reasonable. You don't need it to be that because there's also, I mean, think about it. Maul killed a Jedi Master, and Obi-Wan then killed Maul. Shouldn't that make him a little bit better than just a knight? I mean, if you're just going to be like, oh yeah, we'll just do this, maybe bump him up a bit higher than just knight. I don't know if there are ranks of knights in there, but, he shouldn't be at the bottom rung if we're doing it this way. But just being able to challenge him. And it is also, they even say it's not even because, strictly speaking, his defeat of Maul, but the way that he started feeling the living force prior to attacking Maul and killing him. That's what actually was. Because that is something that it had been established earlier. That's what he struggled with. That was something that Qui-Gon was very good at. Not always so good at the other, the overall, the more abstract sensing of the Force and grand scheme of things. Which is kind of funny because he always recognizes this stuff, like the significance of Jar Jar, the significance of Anakin. I mean, he might, which are high level things. I mean, he might not be fully aware of why they are, but he senses that and goes, anyway. Obi-Wan is described as isn't so good with the living force, the here and now stuff, and so it's like, oh, well, now that, you demonstrate that in order to defeat Maul, then clearly that makes you ready, that you have achieved what you need to be qualified as a knight. technically his just fighting a Maul should have also demonstrated that, or you could have had him starting to do that while fighting, and so then even and still Qui-Gon still have it, my theory that Qui-Gon should have killed him. You could still have done and been like, yes, we're going to elevate you tonight because you did prove yourself worthy there. Don't worry about the trials, we got that. And we also need the knights because if there's one Sith out there, there's two. We got a problem. We got to take care of. The last point I just want to... Okay. Sidious is described as being upset that Maul has been killed. And I can understand that as far as the whole... I put a lot of training into that dude, and he's dead now. I now need to get a new apprentice. I can understand that. But this is more like, I need revenge for his death. It's like, what? I mean, I get that the Sith are all about revenge, but Sidious Palpatine should be pragmatic here and be like, clearly he wasn't good enough. He wasn't strong enough. If those two... I mean, it even makes the point. Yeah. He had been more than the equal of the Jedi Knights he had faced and should have been able to defeat them easily. It was bad luck and chance that led to his death. Or he actually wasn't strong enough. He actually wasn't powerful enough. That's more so what it should be here. Yeah, one thing was certain. Those responsible for killing Darth Maul would be held accountable. Sidious shouldn't give a shit about this. He should not care. It should be like, Maul clearly wasn't powerful enough. I need somebody more powerful than Maul. I need somebody that I can make stronger than him because he wasn't strong enough. That should be the conclusion here. The conclusion that Sidious arrives at. Not this, I need to avenge his death. It's like, it shouldn't matter to him. I mean, the whole rule of two concept itself is supposed to be that it's master and apprentice. And once apprentice is strong enough to defeat the master, he should, because that means the master is too weak. But if the apprentice tries and is still weaker than the master kills the apprentice, then clearly he was too weak. So, new apprentice. It's like that's how the whole thing works here. So, Maul dying by another challenge would show he's too weak. Move on to the next one. It feels, the desire for revenge here feels too sentiment-based than pragmatism, which Sidious should absolutely be that, okay? Should absolutely just be pragmatic here. That he still has things to do, he still needs an apprentice, but the apprentice needs to be stronger. So, yeah, I don't like that. What is written there, because it's like, that's... Also, I will add, there didn't seem to be any kind of admonishment for Obi-Wan with how he gave in to his rage when attacking Maul. Because at this point, I was like, that should have been a warning sign. That's like, wait, you're being tempted by the dark side. That's not good. We shouldn't be having that. And like even yes, we are elevating you tonight, but remember, you cannot give in to rage. Like that is a weakness that you still must overcome. You could have done that. That would have been good. That would have been healthy for the story as well, because that is something that with the original trilogy is a weakness of Luke's and is a reason why you're not a true Jedi yet. Well, Obi-Wan just became one, and he had the exact same problem. So yeah, yeah. So overall, the main thing I noted here is just the whole, and I should actually throw in a little bit more. It's flimsy and fragile, just like Empire Strikes Back was, just like that novelization was. That things are just happening in it, I think, because these are story points we want to hit. Do they make sense to hit them? No. Is it reasonable that these are hit in the way they are? No. Are the motivations reasonable? No. But we want to hit them, so we're hitting them. It's not how you write a story, in my opinion. I mean, if you can't make sure it's all reasonable, if you can't make sure that the motivations make sense, then that's a reason not to do it. To either build up the motivations so that it does make sense, or abandon it, move on. that this fails at that. So, which is very disappointing. I think it's still better than Empire Strikes Back in that regard, though, because Empire Strikes Back, there's a lot of just these characters are dumb. Like they're clearly stupid. That's not so much the case here. There is some stupid stuff. Yes, Qui-Gon, for example, when going on to Tatooine, I remember he was stupid with some of what he did. But it's more just we're arbitrarily having things happen, and this is like I need to add the note in the whole Padme suddenly being capable of being like a seasoned warrior, and not only that, but one thing, not in this chapter, but the previous one, I didn't mention it though. The whole just out of girlhood quote for giving us what her age was is from Newt Gunray. But that's when he saw her in the queen's dress and with the makeup on. Now that he sees her out of it, he is actually thinking she looks younger than I thought. So she's potentially still in girlhood then, at least by his measure. But it makes it even less reasonable that she is such a fantastic warrior, such a fantastic political leader, such a fantastic monarch. I mean, it's like, and so young. It's like, none of this makes sense. So yeah, I am kind of feeling she is a Mary Sue character, but not looked at in that way, except by Anakin, which, it's Anakin. It's Annie, it makes some sense there. But yeah, I mean, the whole, she's just perfect at a lot of these things for no reason. It's completely unexplained, but at least there isn't the everyone's looking up to her like, oh, you're so wonderful. So at least that isn't there. But it is still she shouldn't be as good at all the stuff as is being described there. It's kind of like in Return of the Jedi, how it just says that, yeah, Leia is great at piloting speeders because everyone in her family is. It's like, we've never seen her pilot anything before. There's never been a time when it's clear she has piloted. The closest was her maybe piloting the Falcon, but even then it's not clear because it's closest though because she's like actually sitting in the pilot seat, but Chewbacca's in the co-pilot seat and Chewbacca does pilot. So he is a competent pilot, so it's completely reasonable. She never touched the controls to pilot. He did. And then it's like, oh yeah, she's a great pilot and is able to, despite being behind the Imperial troopers, is able to catch up on the speed because she's such a great pilot. It's like, this has never been set up. You're just declaring that she is. And so it felt kind of like that here, where it's like, yeah, we're just declaring she's great at this, even though it's not set up. There's no reason to believe. In fact, there's reasons to believe she would not be a great warrior because the Naboo are peaceful. Are not just peaceful, but anti-war peaceful. I mean, to be fair, you could have the whole of the planet. Everybody needs to train in the military. Everybody needs to be trained on blasters. And yeah, obviously, I have, what are you talking about? One hidden compartment with a couple blasters. I got them all over the place. You could totally, there's hidden pockets in my dresses. Are you kidding me? I got guns everywhere. You could do that and still be absolutely peaceful. It was like, no, we don't want to fight. We don't want to go to war, but we're ready to. That's peaceful. That's still peaceful. But this is, like, more so described of, no, we don't even have an army. I mean, it's like, it's also silly. They have their main hangar bay with their fighters in the capital city. So in other words, you have a military target next door to the main political target. I'm only going by memory, it's been a while, but as I recall, with the Battle for Britain, which, the months of that, they had their air bases throughout the British Islands. And in fact, a lot of them were fairly far north. That's part of the reason why the Germans couldn't reach them, as I recall, was just they were out of range. And also the radar system. But you wouldn't have had them in London. Because that meant if somebody was targeting the military complex, they might hit the civilian population. And it's like, that, you don't want that. You try to avoid that. Now, of course, London was also being attacked, but then that's another reason, because, like, you'd attack London to break morale, kill the people, and also potentially kill the political power. So again, you want to separate that from the military power so the military power can continue to function. It's like, they're clearly not designed and thinking about military designs and such. It's like, the Gungans are the warriors on the planet, not the Naboo. And then it's like, nah, she's just great at this. It's like, kind of Mary suing it, but not with the whole, oh, you're so awesome, which my understanding is that is, in fact, part of it. And for anyone wondering, I once looked it up. This was a couple years ago. Mary Sue, that character archetype, if you will, comes from, I think it was actually Star Trek fan fiction with a lieutenant whose name was Mary Sue on the Enterprise, and it was just so fantastic, so wonderful, and Spock would fawn over her, and Kirk would fawn over her, and she does end up dying in the end, but she was just, everything she did was perfect. She was perfect, and, in the end, she sacrificed because that was the perfect thing to do, and it's just, oh no, at least that part of it is out, but it still is, she's made way too perfect here. Everyone has flaws, everyone has weaknesses. In some ways, that's what you need to stress the most, because it is those flaws and weaknesses that the reader, or the viewer in the case of a movie, can attach themselves to. For main characters, at least. To be fair, well, in this, she was a main character. She was treated as at main character level. Her character development was not at that level, but she was treated as that. So yeah, it's having those flaws and such makes sense. So to use Leia as an example, in Empire Strikes Back, not in A New Hope, because in A New Hope she's a side character. She is, so she doesn't really have character development. But in Empire Strikes Back, she does, and some of it is just what came to mind was the romance with Han, and how she is hesitant there because it's kind of she doesn't want to say it because she's, especially early on, she wants to always have these other justifications for keeping him around. Because she doesn't want to admit it. She needs to be strong, and that might not be strong. That's something you can connect with somebody with it, because it is indeed a character flaw. Nothing like that for Padme in this. I mean, there are moments you could have done it, but you really don't have those flaws there, and she's always capable of everything. It's like, no, it should not be that way, especially when you consider at least Leia in A New Hope and Empire Strikes. In A New Hope would have been, 21, I think? And in Empire would have been 24, because she and Luke are the same age, and I think he was 21 at the start of A New Hope. If not, that he was still 18. He was in that range there. So she would be older than Padme is. So at least with her, it actually would make more sense that and she'd been part of the rebellion for a while. Her parents were part of, adopted parents, but her parents were part of the rebellion. Her being trained to be a fighter makes sense. Her being trained to be a political leader makes sense. All that makes sense, and she had the time for it as well. Padme was elected, so she wasn't trained. She's on a peaceful planet, so she would not have been politically trained. She would not have been militarily trained, but is depicted as that. I mean, none of it makes sense for her. She's just made perfect, and yeah. I'm just trying to think if there's really any other characters to talk about. Not really. I mean, I think that Obi-Wan's character and Qui-Gon's character, what I said in the previous chapter's video about Qui-Gon should have been the one to kill Maul, I think that basically covers Qui-Gon. That is how he should have been treated. That level of respect. Obi-Wan as well, that... the funny thing is, I even talked about if we had seen him come around to Jar Jar, that would have been significant. Because we technically don't have any explanation for the Naboo now being at peace with the Gungans. Because, for the most part, it seemed like, well, we didn't know you existed, or, oh, you're a Gungan, are you? Because we've only heard rumors about you. It was just that, not a, we think we're better than you, not a, we don't want you around. None of that was actually ever set up. Obi-Wan was the closest. And yet we don't really have that except for him promising Qui-Gon that, yes, I will take care of the boy. That doesn't explain with Jar Jar, though. So it's like, yeah, he actually doesn't get as much character development as he should. He just gets the action at the end that I said I think is unnecessary. So yeah, that's actually disappointing. Anakin, they did some fluffing, some building up with him that I think was unnecessary. Mainly the Chapter 2 stuff. With that retired Republic pilot. Otherwise, I think, all right. I mean, yeah, timeline stuff, like what I complained about with the battleship thing. But, that's more detailed kind of stuff. I mean, it still is an indication of poor writing. But I can't attach it to the character so much. That's kind of it. There's no one else to really talk about. So yeah, I mean, some of it's just, yeah, there are flaws here, but it's okay. Others, it's like, no, it shouldn't be that way. All right. I'm gonna stop this then. I'm probably gonna take a break before getting to Attack of the Clones so I can focus more on the writing. Hopefully, it'll only be for me about a week. This is like 2 weeks out though, so we'll see. And also, I do want to try with Attack of the Clones, not doing like one every day because that eats up so much of my writing time. So we'll see. They might not be as many in a week. Yeah, we'll just see how that goes. Unfortunately, it's also I don't want a large gap between them, so I'm gonna be experimenting, figuring out what works best. Yeah, so we shall see. I am fully intending on continuing with Attack of the Clones, and then Revenge of the Sith, and then I've got a couple ideas for what I may do for the book after. I'm definitely gonna keep doing this. It's just I'm still figuring out what's the best schedule to make sure I get writing time. All right. See you next time.